are a lucrative trade for the United Kingdom. As well as tear gas, Bahrain has bought aircraft cannons and assault rifles from Britain. To Libya, projectile launchers and crowd control ammunition were approved for sale. Deals to Algeria included combat and military utility helicopters worth $430 million. And Egypt's list included components for armoured personnel characters and submachine guns. For Saudi Arabia, sniper rifles and small arms ammunition were among last year's sales. I'm joined now by Barnaby Pace from the Campaign Against Arms Trade. Are you convinced that arms from Britain have been used in these disturbances?
Well, we've yet to see photographic evidence of British arms being used on the ground. We've seen evidence of French and American equipment being used by the military on the ground. We've yet to see those physical pictures, but all the evidence points that there are UK arms out there. And if it hasn't already been used already, there's every chance it could be used tomorrow or the next day. The fact is that the UK government has not only approved licences for this equipment to be exported out to Bahrain, but has actively promoted it. This weekend, the UK is sending out a part of its government arms export trade body to IDEX, the large Middle Eastern arms fair in Abu Dhabi, and it actively it's trying to sell weaponry to Algeria, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia. All of these are regarded as key markets, regardless seemingly of their situation or internal repression.
So I wonder, I mean, are you suggesting that perhaps the government's risk assessment system has been found, shall we say, wanting?
Well, not only is the risk assessment system being found wanting in it, the very principle of the idea that we can assess how these weapons are going to be used in a number of years' time is totally bogus. We can't tell even if we export to America today, whether they'll be used in putting down a protest next year.
I wonder if we're being wise after the event, because Britain is a major exporter of arms, as you know, all around the world. And this time last year, when a lot of these deals will have been agreed, it was extremely unlikely, or thought to be extremely unlikely, that weapons such as these would be used by a kingdom like Bahrain.
I must say, I don't take this argument that it's seen as unlikely as all that faithful to the facts. It's evident that the governments that are being sold to are oppressive and could do it at any moment. One of our prime customers, Saudi Arabia, which is well known for its repressive practices. Indeed, last year, possibly when these deals were going through, we knew that one of the major arms deals of last century, the Al-Yaman arms deal, had led to the jets being sold, possibly being used in human rights abuses in Yemen. We always have known that these weapons are made to be used, and any denial that, oh well, I'm afraid that the crowd control or the missiles of the guns have actually been used, how dreadful, is entirely hypocritical from the UK government.
All right, Barnaby, we have run out of time because we want to go back to Doha and David in Doha.
Stephen, thanks very much indeed. Stephen Cole in London, mentioning what's been happening in Bahrain from a UK perspective. But let's take a look at the island state. There's the capital up north, Manama. It's a very small place, and Pearl Roundabout, where much of the trouble took place. Now you can see where Sulaymaniyah Hospital is. These have been the two centres for the marches. We were talking to a doctor at Sulaymaniyah Hospital a short while ago who said staff are unable to cope after what is believed to be another shooting incident. He said hordes of people were lying injured in the roads, and he believed the majority of people had been deliberately shot in the head. Now, we understand from our sources on the ground in Manama that this latest shooting incident came at the end of the third day of mourning for the very first victim of the demonstrations in Bahrain, and that people were marching back towards the Pearl Roundabout when they were confronted. We don't know by whom, but it appears that a large number of shots were fired. The doctor said it is a bloodbath at this hospital. We just cannot cope. OK, let's go to Imran Khan, who's taking a look at what's happening out in cyberspace with regard to what events in Bahrain and elsewhere.
David, thank you very much. You heard that doctor there. You heard his passion, his plea there. Now, what we're seeing in Bahrain from the tweets is a real sense of fear about what's happening, particularly after, as you say, AlJazeera sources have told us that the army have fired on protesters. Emil gives us a sense of what it's like. Roads around Lulu jammed, especially around Dana Mall. I'm hoping the army will let me get back to my place. And Mariam Rahimi is simply scared. Oh my God, she says. No, I hear gunshots so close, fear in my house. And Hadil Aush says protesters were carrying flowers, saying they wanted to deliver it to police, were shot instead. Blood on the street now. In Libya, it's really tough getting a sense of what's happening. There's no real media freedom there, and the government seems to be determined to keep a lid on things. But word is getting out about sporadic but growing demonstrations via sites like Twitter. So these eyewitness reports, now we can't independently verify them, but they do correlate with what we've heard on the web desk. Nalan Saranj has this. Benghazi is now surrounded by military and police are yet to be seen. Libya funerals underway and Friday prayers. Protests are about to begin. Azaz Sami has this. Very fierce confrontations in Libya. Bet protesters and regime. Reports of thugs imported into the country via the planes. Now, we don't change these tweets at all, so they come in as we see them. And Lady Gabina has this. Thugs bypassed the tear gas and went straight to live ammo. Please help spread the word. There is no independent media in Libya. Staying with Twitter, but on to Yemen, where protests have increased in frequency over the last 8 days. Yemen for change with this plea. Shame on pro-government protesters who protest against themselves and their rights for money. Shame on pro-government. You can see there was a bit of a mistake there, sorry. We move on to the next one. Queensy has a very different take. Choppers are hovering again. What now? Bahrain? There seems to be a bit of confusion on these tweets. Let's just move on to the web desk update. Thank you. As you can see, our web desk is the best place to stay up to date with absolutely everything. www.aljazeera.net/London. Back to you, David.
Yeah, Imran, thanks very much indeed. What I'm going to do is just summarise some of the events in Bahrain for you. We understand there has been a major shooting incident pretty close to Pearl Roundabout where the camp was broken up the other night. This was at the end of 3 days of mourning for one of those who died. Witnesses there, including doctors at the hospital, say a number of casualties. In fact, a massive number of casualties. Most of them, according to the doctor we spoke to, with gunshot wounds to the head. Try to get another point of view on this. Reem Khalifa, senior editor at Al-Wasat newspaper. Reem, I know you've spoken to us on a number of occasions about what's been happening on the streets of Bahrain. What do you know about the latest incident as reported by us?
The latest, I was very close by to the square. Suddenly, we were heading for the protest for the doctors and the nurses and the journalists as well, which was held in Salmania hospital, the state hospital. And then suddenly I turned because I started hearing shooting, and it was a lot. There was, like, before that, announcement for a number of young people that they want to go to the square and ask them, where is the dead bodies that you're hiding? Because they didn't get anything, and also why you're hiding our relatives' dead bodies. So what happened?